Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari, and hope you had a great weekend. Let's look at security. It's about the only thing, and this is against the backdrop of the chairman of the Senate Committee for the Army speaking about the challenges of security in the country and the fact that the Army is assisting, but still has a number of challenges. Well, my guest this morning is Mr. Philip Agbese. Philip is a security analyst and a public affairs commentator. Thank you, as always, Philip, for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
Indeed. The security situation in our country is dire, according to a lot of people. It looks like those good old days are receding far into the background when everybody felt secure. Nightlife was, thriving. People used to move around relatively, safely. But apparently, if you agree, that is not the case anymore. And I wanted to sort of put it in the context of now, as I said, this report that the chairman of the Senate Committee on the Army saying that it is clear that the Army is getting less by way of, budget allocations. I think he referred to a paltry 27 billion naira in these war times. How concerned are you?
Oh, yes, it is actually true that we have a series of security situations around the country. The activities of bandits graduating into kidnappings and other criminal activities across the country. The fight against insurgency in the northeast. The evacuation of terrorists from parts of Benue, Kogi, Niger. And of late, criminal activities springing up by members of the independent People of Biafra terrorist organization, and even other terrorist organizations that are still springing up that we are yet to detect. And coupled with that is the understanding today that the Nigerian police force, was overstretched a long time ago, and hence the need for the Nigerian military to intervene. So today we have the Nigerian Army involved in some of these duties. We have the Air Force and even the Navy and other security agencies intervening. So coming back to the issue of budgetary allocation for the Nigerian Army, I want to agree with the distinguished senator that yes, there is a need for us to improve on budgetary allocation to our military, particularly now that both local and international organizations have agreed that we have a level of transparency in terms of defense budget management, which wasn't there in the past. In the past, one could easily argue that no matter what you give to the military will be squandered as a result of mismanagement. Of course, we saw that in the case of the arms procurement issue with the past administration, where all the monies budgeted for that purpose either spent on prayer or spent, on political rallies and all of that. Nothing actually went to the military. But today we have seen a deviation from that line of thought by the current military leadership that we have in the country. Transparency is now sweeping across every nook and cranny of our military establishment, which, of course, is a welcome development. And I think for that purpose, as citizens, we can now argue and make the case that there is a need. Even bearing in mind the fact that, of course, the senator said 33 states, but I'm not aware of any state in this country where we don't have, military presence intervening. As peaceful as Jigawa, Kano, and even recently Gombe, Yobe, and some of these states that have been cleared of the insurgency, there's still a need for the military to be on ground to ensure that these territories that are being recovered from the terrorists, are properly safe and secured, and to equally ensure that a time comes where the civil police are able to maintain and take charge of these territories before they finally withdraw. So virtually we have the military in all parts of the country.
A number of times in there, when you were speaking, you referred to a newfound transparency within the military that can sort of reassure us. And that sort of reminded me that, wait a minute, the military has found itself the Nigerian military has found itself in some sort of a situation where, as a result of the NSAS protest and its testimony, Brigadier Taiwo, apparently, apparently is the word, had flip-flopped a bit. having at one time said that the military did not have. I'm just referring to this whole aspect of transparency vis-a-vis the whole CNN wahala.
I've followed.
You followed all of that. And I brought it up only because of the transparency that you're talking about.
I've followed.
But it appears the military is now saying that actually there were soldiers with live ammunition, for example, as well as blanks.
Yes. You see, not just that. We must also add that the military must have also gone to that venue with water and even food in their vehicle. The situation at Lekki, as it were, as a matter of fact, required the military to move to that area with everything properly, because they are not just going there, they're also going there to maintain law and order and as well to protect themselves. We have seen videos where some of these protesters or the hoodlums who participated in the protest equally were carrying arms. We also saw, before the military was invited by the governor of Lagos State to intervene, we saw cases and scenarios where senior police officers and even junior policemen were killed, butchered by these protesters, and I'm sure no one would expect the military to go to that venue. I don't consider the statement. As a matter of fact, Brigadier General Taiwo has been very vocal, he has been very coherent, and he has been straight to the point. I've been attending the sittings at the...
So flip-flop is not the way you would describe it?
No, because...
It's just bringing additional clarification.
Yes, exactly, additional clarification to the issue. And that is why I continue to applaud the military, particularly the Nigerian Army, for the level of transparency. Because let's not go back to the initial stage where the Lagos State government denied inviting them or didn't invite them, or where some representative of the army said we were not there or something like that. We have seen clearly, at the Lekki, panel, because that is where we are getting facts today. And that's why we have continued to say that those with facts should continue to come forward. I was there last week. I'm still going to be there tomorrow because I'm interested. We want to see the facts for ourselves, and we want to, guide the panel to a conclusion that is satisfactory.
When you say you were there, that also goes for every Nigerian
who
has anything to offer.
Yes,
has been invited to come on.
Yes, because I've been looking forward. I've been contacted by international organizations across the world to look out for families of those who lost their lives at the Lekki shooting, so that they can actually provide a certain level of support. And you know that as a country where people cherish international aid, we expect everybody, families, to come forward. We have made this announcement. I've also listened to some commentators and even lawyers who appeared here, and equally re-echo that to tell the world that yes, funds are available for families. But up to this moment, we haven't actually seen anyone. The other day, someone argued that some people...
You haven't actually seen any family that is looking for a loved one or a ward of any sort?
Yes, actually, yes, because it's only the BBC report as it stands today. No, the CNN report as it stands today, that is still alleging that one person was murdered at the Lekki shooting. Yes. Initially, they said 38, but after their detailed analysis and documentary, they've come up again to say one person. So, of course, that is the last issue we are working with. So we are looking forward to the family of that person. Though they mentioned name, I saw on the social media some days back again that that person mentioned in the CNN report is alive and saying he's not even in Lagos, and begging CNN, to retract that statement, even though CNN has said they stand by their documentary. Of course, we expect them, because of that large image, to always stand by whatever thing they turn out, whether true or false.
Okay.
But it's expected of them. But what the situation on ground is that we don't have that. We don't have what it takes, to counter CNN, because there are people also in business. They are in business in Iran. They are in business in Somalia. They are in business in Kenya, or even in business in Ghana. So one would not expect such a platform to correct itself by coming out to say, oh, Nigerians, we are sorry, we lied.
Okay. Yeah. So we just, as it were, diverted to this, talking about security generally, and the army is a large part of this, as indeed is the police. And it's because we were speaking about increased transparency within the military, probably encouraging us to do more than, as Senator Adendume has said.
I want to add to that, because, before now, part of the report against the Nigerian military, why our international partners were not so eager to support Nigeria in fighting the war against insurgency. Two things: the question of corruption and the question of human rights abuses. We saw the other day that the United States of America is now ready and willing to support us in fighting, and that is because over the last 4 or 5 years, they are not satisfied that to a great extent, the Nigerian army has, continued to improve on its human rights record. Remember, there was a presidential panel of inquiry that set up in 2017 to look into issues of human rights abuses by the Nigerian army and other security organizations in the country. They traveled to Maiduguri, listening to people, traveled to Enugu, in Port Harcourt, were in Abuja, and even Lagos. And that panel of inquiry, of course, made some recommendations which the military have adjusted to, and in some areas, completely and totally exonerated the military of any wrongdoing in those human rights abuses. So I believe our international partners have looked into these issues and are now satisfied with the leadership of the Nigerian army and other security agencies that, yes, truly, they are doing the right thing. And it's because they are doing the right thing that we are now having this new wave of cooperation from our international partners to support the war against insurgency, even though they are coming a little bit late, because they will be coming at a time that the Nigerian army has been able to push Boko Haram out of the territory of Nigeria. What we have in parts of Borno State is this lone wolf attacks and all of that. Recall also that yesterday we read on the pages of newspapers that the Borno State governor's convoy was again attacked. But later in the evening, the governor and his official spokesperson, they came out to say no, there was no attack. They went to Baga. And as a matter of fact, also give it to the Nigerian army for their efforts in what they have done in the Northeast so far. Today, we are talking about local government elections in Borno State. This hasn't taken place in the last 10 years. And you and I know very well that the current governor of Borno State has been very, very vocal, in terms of his views on the war against insurgency. When he was not comfortable with certain things being done by the army, he didn't waste time to come out, to tell the world. And today, the same governor is saying that peace is returning to Borno State. That means peace has returned to Borno State. We can only celebrate that. And that boils down to security issues in other parts of the country.
In other parts of the country.
Because it tends to look as we are winning one in one region, a new one is springing up in another part of the country, particularly the southeast and the northwest. Because today, since Mr. President came on board and said, in line with my change mantra, we want to ensure that smuggling activities in the northwest is stopped. We have had this increased unrest, by youths masquerading as bandits, some as kidnappers. But these are pure criminal elements, who just want to take the state for granted.
Well, sorry, when you put it that way, maybe you did, I'm just imagining you put it journalistically when you said youth masquerading as bandits or kidnappers. A bandit or a kidnapper is either of those two things. Whether it's youth, whether it's middle age, it's criminal.
Yes, of course. People, let me put it better, people participating in criminal activities. Yeah, I think basically, because
we're hearing, in spite of everything that the police has gone through, especially during those horrible dark days of NSAS and police being, set upon, now we're hearing that senior police officers are being kidnapped, and the police were wary, even though they've been assured by all and sundry, their own Inspector General, to defend themselves. Police were wary to come back out. The number was already inadequate.
Yes.
Now they're a bit wary of coming out. This surely must heighten the complication of the whole security securing process.
Of course, that's true, and it's something that is going to live with us for a very long time, especially the way the Nigerian police force was demonized. And that is why times without number, when we see institutions or elements who are trying to demonize the military, we know where they are going to. Because when people started the NSAS protest, of course, the initial stage, when it was a genuine agitation by young Nigerians to express themselves against police brutality, of course, we all supported that aspect of the protest. Even the fact that we also understand that not everyone who has been arrested by the police in the past, was actually innocent of the charges, or whatever the police leveled against them. Sometimes the police went overboard, in addressing some of these issues. The NSAS shouldn't be all about people saying that criminals who are in police detention or who are helping the police with investigation, should be released and go home. Or most of these persons have now been released, and the security situation in the country has now been heightened because people no longer have peace. In Benin, they went as far as opening the prison doors for prisoners to run away. One particular one went straight to his community and killed, the prosecution witness during his trial before he was rearrested again. So, to a large extent, as far as we have...
An almost breakdown,
yes,
as it were,
yes,
of law and order.
Yes.
But the quagmire is Ali Dume, chair of the Army Committee, is saying what Nigerians have been saying, which is that he's not very comfortable with the army being involved in internal security. But we find ourselves at this pass where they have to come in. Now, Brigadier Tai was speaking about the military having very specific and strict rules of engagement. Yes. I think he categorized it into 4 stages. Okay. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4. The ultimate 4 being. So this is a recurring number. Everybody, every reasonable person has said that, as it is around the world, the military shouldn't really be involved in internal security. But we do have our own situation. Is that not so?
You see, the age and time also matters. The soldiers, the American soldiers who are in Iraq, to combat terrorism in that country are not police, neither are they scouts from that country. They are soldiers. And the level of insurgency that the world, because Nigeria is just an isolated case of what the world is passing through today. The global war against terrorism, the insurrection by extremists, is a global trend. And it is not something that the civil police can ordinarily handle. But we would say that in our country, if not that the police were overwhelmed in Lagos, there wouldn't have been any need for the military to intervene. And we all saw that even in most part of the country, like in Abuja, in Benue, in Adamawa, and other places where the military was invited, they just, maintained some level of civility, stayed very far away from the protests. They didn't really have any altercation with the protesters. It was only at Lekki. And I think the case of Lekki and the case of Uyingbo in Rivers, quite different. Because when you see that a fellow security officer like you has been killed in the line of duty by those you are set out to protect, it becomes very difficult for you on what to do. And many military strategists have argued again that a security person bearing weapon, is the only person who can determine when and where to use the weapon, because his own life is also at stake. So if the situation in Lekki at that time necessitated the use of a rubber bullet, as our military have used, to disperse the protesters, and people are not comfortable with it, or enemies of our country now want to force a lie on us, it is left for us, to tell them, no, this is not the right thing. Because, for instance, are we not demoralizing the military today by trying to put the military on trial even for what they have not done? It is right, to invite the military to account for what they have done. But in the case of Lekki, where, we have seen videos and all the Instagram posts and all of that, people even contradicting themselves from 78 to 38, and now CNN is saying one person was killed at Lekki. We are now bringing the military, to trial for what they have not done. Why not we look at, and funny enough...
So when some people were saying, I suppose, he who alleges must prove, as the lawyers say, there's nothing we didn't hear, as one meme says on social media, nothing we must not go see forget, whatever that means. But we were hearing that, we were reading that, look, people were indeed, fatally, there were fatal, incidents with the army, and that the army had taken away such corpses. Now, that is going to have to be proved.
Yeah, you see, first they made the statement. They wrote it on Facebook. They wrote it on Twitter. In fact, people didn't even see the one that I was involved, because I saw in one of the blogs too that I was killed somewhere in Lekki that night by the military. And but I, of course, a post that I know very well, I quickly contacted the person, spoke with him on phone and said, no, I wasn't there. He pulled it down. I have to say it for the first time here, you know, for Nigerians and the world to hear, you know, and people.
So the way we're managing our information is also an issue in this whole security situation.
I think it's not even about information management. This is a clear case of deliberate falsehood, organized falsehood, you know, against a segment or an institution of the Nigerian state.
What's the sense that you get, since fortunately you're also involved with the inquiry, the panel of inquiry that's been set up, I think, in every state, but since the Lagos one is the one that you've been involved in, do you have the sense that we're getting a clearer picture so far, or that there's very much more that indeed is going to come out the way this inquiry is being conducted?
No, a lot has been said at the panel. We have watched videos. You remember that the initial time we heard that the Lekki Concession Company removed the CCTV, and because of that, those who were alleging that people were killed and massacred, they will not be able to get a video. They were already sorry and telling the world that, yes, a massacre took place. Unfortunately, these people had conspired with the military. They removed the video at the camera at 4 p.m., and we can't watch it again. But here we are today. This concession company, they brought out the video. Nothing is missing. And all we can see in the video, soldiers shooting over and above people's head. And we haven't seen dead bodies. We haven't seen anyone capturing soldiers carrying dead bodies. We even haven't seen families coming out to say Mr. A or B is missing and all of that. And they trust Nigerians that even when there are no dead bodies, for the fact that international organizations have come up, you know, to give money, to give support to the families, we would have seen one or two. Then,
okay, one moment, please. Let me take Mr. Joshua, who has called in from Irewalide. Good morning, Mr. Joshua. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning to you, I wish you a blessed week ahead.
Thank you very much.
I greet your guest,
Mr. Agbese.
thank you so much.
Mr. Agbese. Is so calm, so responsible. I appreciate him so much. And the part of information that he's releasing now is important. You see, the voices of people who are speaking to cause mayhem on Nigeria seem louder. Somebody like him maybe knows the implication of what to say, so sometimes he's reserved about words. But like saying now, he was one of the people who was said to have died in that place, and he placed a call. Is very important, because I am not bothered about CNN. I know that they will defend themselves to any length. But as per security, please, we Nigerians should know that it's time to be vigilant and to take personal responsibility for our security. Uncle Yori, I mean personal responsibility, just like the COVID-19 problem. It didn't stop spreading because we were locked down. It will only stop if we take personal responsibility. That's the same with security. When all the forces are being attacked, then we should know that there's a theory in the air. And I will just give it straight from a layman's point of view. Whenever America is having a problem, Nigeria becomes the whipping boy. America is now having serious issues of credibility with their election, with their president standing up to say, no, I'm not conceding. That's a very terrible situation. I want Nigeria to be vigilant at this time. So
sorry, it's an interesting point you bring up. I would say, where is the connection between Nigeria and that situation in the U.S.?
The connection is there. You see, Nigeria is always, whatever is happening in Nigeria determines what is happening in Africa. If you cannot get Nigeria down, you can't handle Africa. So whenever anybody thinks that, okay, there's something that is happening to the big boys in the world, The next big boy you have to look at is Africa as a continent, for example. Let's expose their stupidity. Let's expose their own weaknesses and divert attention to them. So everybody will be talking about Nigeria. Forget that America is now exposing themselves the way it should be. I'm just saying we need to be vigilant.
Okay.
Because what happened in Lekki is so straightforward. For anybody to distort that much of information to the extent of one who's burning down Lagos, and nobody is talking about it. It is a concern because police people were killed, some armed forces people were killed. All lives matter.
Okay, I don't think we lost any armed forces person, but they did report injury.
Produce more deaths than is being reported. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. But I just sought to say that unless I'm wrong, the army didn't report any fatality, but they were injured. Men in uniform. I don't know. Do you have different information?
Yes. Yes. Not in Lagos.
Oh no.
Yes.
He's talking about the Lekki.
Yes. No. Yeah. Not in Lagos. But when the leader of the terrorist group, the IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu,
yes.
Did the video, sent audio messages out to his men,
yes.
To kill all security persons. Yeah. Members of the armed forces were not spared. I think about 8 official report by the River State government puts it that 8 army officers were killed in River State. And as a matter of fact, we don't know when the panel in River State is going to commence sitting. Here today in Lagos, we have equally seen victims of SARS brutality appearing before that panel to make their case. Unfortunately, we haven't seen families of the police, those whose husbands were killed. And you see, the way and manner the protesters went about their own killings, very, very inhuman. We saw a situation where
those that hijacked the protesters. I don't know. I don't know how difficult it is. One is trying to distinguish between the protesters and those that hijacked the protesters, and the expression we've been hearing is the hoodlums that hijacked. Are you comfortable with that attempt at dividing the two bodies?
No, both parties work together for one purpose. And for that purpose...
Even those who hijacked it, but that is pure people that had no ideological leanings, that were just seeking to say, oh, there's a breakdown of law and order, and then you go loot. People were saying that no original protester would be involved in looting.
No, well, I don't actually know what they are saying, and I can't see any distinction between a protester and a hoodlum in that instance. Okay. The best I can say is that some were more reasonable than the other, in the sense that some actually did the protest in the comfort of their homes. Some were at the toll gate or some of the protest venue. I recall a video that night where one of these brothers who are fighting, the musical boys.
Okay.
I think P Square, yes. P Square.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a popular Nigerian.
Exactly. I'm not so used to them, but yes. So one was saying that that night, that over 100 persons have been killed in Lekki, and that he will also go there to be killed. But he never left his house, that night, even the following day. And even up to now, we haven't seen him anywhere close to the panel in Lekki to, tell us about the 100 persons that were killed that day. Okay, so we have now seen some of them even removed.
So the point you're making is that there's a lot of talk out there. Yeah. But when it comes to walking the talk, you find a whole absent field.
Yes, for me, I also want to align with the silence of a respected lawyer, Femi Falana. He initially said he was going to take the army to the International Criminal Court, that so many persons were killed and all of that. And even since that time till now, he hasn't said anything again. So sometimes, you don't push elders like that to continue to react. Okay. But I'm sure he's, biting his finger to say that...
Or at least reviewing the situation.
Yeah, not even reviewing the situation. For over 30 days, he hasn't said anything again.
Okay.
So I want to conclude, on the line. To say that probably he has also given up that nobody was killed by the military.
I'm sorry. I think I must have lost Alhaji Yunusa. Alhaji Yunusa, see if you can get in again. because we're looking at security generally, well, two things that I wanted to bring up. Number one, the federal authorities have always said that we have Boko Haram on the back foot now, that they are not what they used to be. But they're not saying that Boko Haram is not a challenge anymore. They're not going as far as that. So that's one aspect to it. Then the whole matter about the general insecurity, and I hasten to add that what I mean by the general insecurity in the land is this whole fear of banditry, of kidnapping, and that kind of a thing. The part of intelligence in it, we've often had reason to, comment on this.
Yes, that is very correct. As much as we want to give it to the military,
before you go further, I'll come back to the point. Let me take Henry in Kano. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning, Uncle Eric.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Please, I really want to appreciate what you've been doing so far. And I want to also talk about your guest.
Okay.
Please.
My guest. Do you know my guest personally?
You said?
Do you know him personally?
No.
Okay,
No,
but you want to talk about him?
Yes, based on what he's just saying.
Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
I feel what he's saying, I think he's being paid to say these things because I don't think
He's being paid?
You
think he's on someone's payroll? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. For me, I see some on someone's payroll because he's just saying things out of proportion.
What are those things you disagree with, Henry? Help us with those things that give you that impression. That can be very, very helpful, Henry. What are the things he said that give you the impression that you've just, voiced?
Because what he's just saying things to favor the movement. Talking about the youth. So I am expecting him to say something about the youth that just saying out of society that for me I don't think he's not saying the right thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you very much for calling in, Henry. Let's clear that up. So who has paid you to come on and speak, as it were? I think if I heard Henry well, he seems to think you're on the side of the authorities. And the last time you were here, people, I think there's someone else who called in.
Same, this very voice.
Oh, okay.
It was this very voice.
Who called in to say that he knows you as an activist, I think going back to school. There's a difference because I think the last time you were here, that person said maybe he was in school with you together. This person has said that, no, I don't know you, but I don't know him, but I want to comment on what he's saying.
Well,
now, do you consider yourself?
You see this.
How do you consider yourself?
Yes, the very question that someone asked, I think the other Femi in Calabar.
Okay. Okay.
The question of who is backrolling you and all.
Oh, okay. So it's come back to the same thing. Because
yes.
Okay.
But of course, I will not react like Femi, who became angry and wanted to tear the journalist into pieces. As a matter of fact, we don't need to be paid, to do good things for the society. We also don't need to be paid. I think the SARS protesters were heavily mobilized, giving money, pizza, goods, and all of that to be able to protest. Those of us who are on the side of humanity, those of us who are on the side of our country, we don't need to be paid by anybody to do the right thing.
Would you accept that those who describe you as a human rights activist, or how would you describe yourself? Because it's not today, so as we say locally, that you've been commenting on security issues.
You see, many of them don't know our history in the struggle. Yeah, sometimes they get carried away by, just the mere facial expression. As a matter of fact, I schooled in this country. I was in University of Ilorin for 4 or 5 years thereabout. And I participated actively in the student union movement. I was never a member of any cult group while on campus. In fact, at some point, I was even a religious leader on campus, leading one of the campus fellowships. That is, by the way. Yes, I've always been on the side of humanity. But you see, when people expect you to take very critical positions or positions that are inimical to the growth and development of your state. I think the difference here is that our understanding of the Nigerian state, the building blocks of the society, our level of patriotism differs. Sometimes, whereas people feel that as youth, we should go out to protest, bring the government down, burn structures, we tend to differ, with their own views.
And when you do differ, is it as a result of some sort of investigation? Because a lot of people that talk, sometimes they're embedded with some of the places that they can then talk about as a neutral person.
Yes, fantastic. You see, you could be neutral and still be an instigator. Some people, pretend to be neutral, at the same time instigating people, to carry out activities that are not in tandem with the principle of a just, equitable, and an egalitarian society. We are not saying that we have a perfect government in Nigeria. We have only agreed with our challenges. And as statesmen, we are seeing the best possible approaches to ensure that these challenges are addressed. In between 2015 to 2019, I visited the Northeast not less than 20 times. I mobilized Nigerians, to take food, medical aid without noise to people in the Northeast, people suffering. I visited virtually, I visited Borno State, more than 10 times. I visited Yobe, I visited Gombe, and all these states.
How are these activities funded?
Yes, fantastic. We got support from well-meaning Nigerians. Of course, government have agencies that are responsible, for providing palliatives and aids, the National Emergency Management Agency. So you wouldn't expect a government institution to fund private individuals. But you see, in 2016, we saw a clear situation in the Northeast, which as well-spirited individuals, with the support of our friends, we intervened.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me not lose Alhaji Babangida. I'm going to come back to you if I can. Alhaji Babangida in Adamawa has called in. Good morning, Alhaji.
Good morning, Angulori.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Angulori.
Good morning, sir. Please continue.
Angulori, please. I want to make my contribution.
Sure.
I want to know. Good morning. What? I want to make my contribution, Angulori.
Go ahead, please.
I want to know between the Whitloms and the protesters. These protesters, are they from Nigeria? And the Whitloms, are they from Nigeria or they are from Niger, Republic of Benin? Because if they are talking about these answers, they say Whitloms has hijacked the protest. Whitloms has hijacked the protest. What I know, the protesters, they divided themselves into two. One, they are protesting. One, they went and destroyed the properties of people, are looting everywhere. Because they are not helping the country. This is not the way how to protest. To protest, you are destroying the country that you say you need a job.
Alhaji Babangida.
Can give everybody.
Alhaji Babangida. Alhaji Babangida. Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Alhaji Babangida.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
How were you able to determine the opinion you've just expressed that the NSAS protesters actually divided themselves up into two groups, one protesting, the other looting? How were you able to make that determination? I think we might have lost Alhaji Babangida.
Well, what Babangida was saying is not far from the truth and the reality.
So you subscribe to that idea?
If I write to you,
I could then bring the same question I gave Babangida to you, that how does one make that determination that the protest that started, that all and son, well, even the president, the vice president, governors have said, yep, we see merit in the issues you guys are advancing, and we're going to do something about it. Never mind what happened after that, but at least up to that extent it was said. Now, that's one kind of protester. But you seem to be, and thank God that you are also seeing it from Babangida's point of view, you seem to be saying that is one group of protesters. The other group, they're all the same, That seems to be what you're saying. Now I'm saying, so how do you make that determination? There were idealists, perhaps, people who were fed up with the situation and who have said, we must make our voice known, and they were thanked for it.
Yes.
Now, how do you now say the guys who were burning down courthouses, releasing prisoners from jail, come from the same group?
Yes. It's as good as writing to your organization or any other organization that you want to down tools, you want to protest because your salaries have not been paid. And even after management has given assurances that your salary will be paid, you still continue to protest. Even when you begin to receive alert, you still continue to protest. And that was what we saw with the protests. You know, the federal government came up.
Yes, the fact that the protesters didn't seem to know how to proceed after their right to protest had been conceded to them.
Yes, not just that. You know, some of the points, the 5 demands, you know, were granted. The Inspector General of Police disbanded the SARS.
Exactly.
He was trying to put up a new organization that will, of course, address what SARS was meant to originally address.
Yes.
Because if we like it
all
or
these
not,
were wins for them.
Exactly.
But they didn't know how to take it beyond that.
Yes, they didn't know.
Apparently.
Yes, and at that point, you know, many of us had to drop our sympathy for the group because
let me take Sunday. Sunday has called in from Port Harcourt. Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sunday in Port Harcourt. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, morning, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Uncle Yori, I thank you. God bless you. I love the work you people are doing for the progress of Nigeria. To be honest with you, the guy who killed is speaking, I don't believe a true Nigeria can speak source that nobody died. Even if we are not there, we saw the video at Lekki what really transpired. Life. For the past 2 weeks, but our government did not come in. Even when they are telling the government, our president to say something, I say, but to be honest, I believe the government decides to sponsor looters. Because we saw the video, those boys came to be fighting, those guys protesting. We saw the video when they came to be looting those guys in that protester ground. We saw everything. And the protesters, they decided to be bringing up for the looters. But what I'm saying is that that thing that has happened in the Lagos, Lekki, is enough for Nigeria to sit up. Till now, we have not had anything. The progress of the country. Instead of that, they are looking for the protester, frozen their bank account, looking for this to bring them. Can you compare life to property to us?
Okay, Sunday, I'm struggling here to listen to you because, you know, there were occasional drops, but not bad enough for me to not understand. And I think what you seem to be saying is that, bearing in mind the preponderance of videos, social media videos that, you know, you were privy to, that all Nigerians were, at least who were on WhatsApp and those other platforms were privy to, that he seems to find a difficulty in taking the position that you have taken.
You see, we are not here because we are inviting people to align with our position, because we have aligned with the bitter truth, which our elders have always said is very bitter. So not many of them would, of course, align with us, especially those who were taking advantage of the protests to, you know, loot people's properties. It is their wish that these things, you know, still continue.
Yes, so much so that they've gone to the extent of saying that you are government-sponsored, government-paid to come on air. And, you know...
I wish a time will come when Nigerian government will begin to pay people like us who are patriotic, because that will make more Nigerians to equally be patriotic and see a need, you know, to support the Nigerian state.
But what people want from people like you, commentators, is the objective truth of what they saw,
and that is exactly
even if it doesn't align with what their perceptions are.
Yes, no, but that's exactly what we're here to do, and that is why we have continued to rely on the videos that they are talking about. Of course, I'm sure CNN, after 30 days of investigation, had several of those videos before concluding and arriving at their own fact, which is even subject to, of course, criticism and even further verification. And CNN has now said, yes, there was a massacre in Lagos, there was a massacre in Lekki, so many persons were killed, but so far so good. What we have at the moment is that one person was killed.
One person cannot be a massacre.
No, but that's what they have said. But as a matter of fact, for a government that is devoted and committed to safeguarding the lives of its citizens, like the current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, I think one is enough to give it to CNN. There is a massacre. Because this is a government that is doing its best every day, day and night, to ensure that properties are safe, citizens are protected, and that is why you can see the way the banditry is being tackled in the Northeast. Originally, when the Boko Haram crisis started, it took us a very long time to agree whether it was a religious issue, if it was an ethnic agenda, whether it was a political. But clearly, the current administration didn't make any, mess with the banditry situation. And that is why times without number, when people are kidnapped, rescue operations are dispatched either by the Nigerian army or the police to ensure that these people are, returned back. And that is why we are still studying the situation in Nasarawa State, where the chairman was kidnapped from his house and barely within the same community, was dropped dead. And of course, it tells us that all of us as citizens, we have a role to play.
Indeed.
Because in that situation...
Sorry, let me not lose Femi. Good morning, Femi, in Abuja.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning, Uncle Yori. My name is Femi. I'm calling from Abuja. First and foremost, I want to thank you so much for this wonderful program you anchor. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to thank the guest you have in there. I don't know him personally, but I've been...
Philip Agbese.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. I just want to call him to encourage him to continue to do the good work he's doing. He shouldn't look back, because it's not everybody that is going to celebrate him. There are some people, for political reasons, the only time they want to celebrate is when there are bad news about Nigeria, just for them to prove a point that the government of the day is bad. But they've forgotten that Nigeria is our own. No foreign person can make this country great except ours. Nigeria is our home. If we build it well, we live on it. If we crash it, it's going to crash on us. Some of these people just believe that whatever that comes from Oyibo is correct. They don't even care. They don't bother to verify it. But I just want to encourage you, please continue to do the good job.
Okay,
yes, it's good to criticize the government of the day, but make it constructive. Don't make it destructive, because it's our home, like I said.
All right.
It's going to crash on all of us if it goes bad. And I pray that Nigeria will continue to go to greater heights. Thank you once again, Uncle Yori. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Femi. Really appreciate your call. Now, also just to say that the conversation, we're talking about security in Nigeria and the way it is not the most reassuring. And so we're looking at what can be done, and we've spoken about the chairman of the Senate Committee on the Army speaking up and making a case that the Nigerian Army needs more. He referred to the 27 billion that they got in this budget as paltry, that they need more. And we were looking at really security against banditry, kidnappings, but because the NSAS process is probably freshest in our memory of both parties that we're talking about here, the army and the police, they've come up into it. But actually, we started off this situation with the worsening, subject to the authorities giving us better information, the worsening scenario, security scenario in the country. And that's what you were commenting on.
I will not say worsening.
Okay.
Yes, because...
you think it's getting better?
Yeah, because, for instance, in the Northeast, where we had 5 states in the hands of Boko Haram, and today these territories have been reclaimed by our very patriotic army, it will be unfair, to the efforts and sacrifices of those who have put in their best, our troops, and even the efforts of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Toku Buratai, who, leave the comfort of their homes, their families, their offices,
but kidnappers
to go...
and bandits,
yes,
seemingly being able to operate at will.
No, the issue is this. I think we are just getting, should I say awareness or something? No, publicity.
Okay.
The criminals tend to be getting, the kind of publicity that they want to get. Yeah, because before 2016, we had this high level of kidnapping, even in the southeast, that the Nigerian army had to run this operation Egweke, in parts of the southeast, for people to even be able to visit home for Christmas and other activities like New Year Festival. And today we have, seeming peace, in this vicinity. Then these isolated cases, of kidnapping, banditry activities in the northwest. The military intervened with this Operation Sahel Sanity, and we saw traditional rulers, religious leaders were all confessing that, of course, something positive has been done. Now, that I'm not saying that we don't have cause for worry, because if for any citizen to be taken, for his freedom to be denied for a period of even 30 minutes or 1 hour, it's not a very good thing, especially for a country where people are making sacrifices on a daily basis for us to all enjoy our peace.
But would you therefore say that these reports are exaggerated a bit?
No, some of the reports are true, and even exaggerated. I mean that the slightest threat to security anywhere in the country should worry us. But if we just oppose that, with what the efforts that people have made, our leaders have made, and join the bandwagon effect to say because of this peculiar situation in XYZ location, to that extent we should not appreciate the effort that others have put in, or what government is doing, is to be less patriotic. So I would say that yes, there's still room for more to be done, like safeguarding the Kaduna-Abuja Express Road, ensure that the military is well funded, just to align myself with Senator Ali Ndume, and equally support them. Yeah, because when we support them with resources, the question of availability of funds to motivate personnel will be there. We also need to motivate the police, because the military cannot be everywhere, even at the same time. Like the police, they have their posts, their outstations, and divisional headquarters in virtually all these local government areas. When our military are invited to intervene, they are just left, given a primary school setting, to stay where they cook, they eat, and begin to support us. So I believe that
those are camps. Yeah. The military, they signed up for it. I mean, it might be special for you and I, but they are professionals.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. That because the police are the ones who live with us, who cohabit with us, even on the street and within our household, we also need to support them. We need to fund the police so that the police will be able to do their duty. And I'm sure the moment the police is able to do its own duty, the military, with little involvement, will be able to have that state that we're all clamoring for. Today is happening in Borno State. They are conducting elections in Borno State because there is peace virtually in all parts of Borno State today. Who did it? The military did it. The army, got us that victory. Today in Gombe State, Gombe is rated, even Biu, which is a local government area in Borno State, is one of the most peaceful communities in the world today. You go to Biu today, you see economic activities booming up. You not even know that it's part of a state that's witnessed insurgency in the last few years. So we all have our role to play. I want to thank...
and also patriotism,
Yes, patriotism.
Okay, you probably wanted to talk about maybe Femi in Abuja?
No. What Femi has said, yes, of course, is a tonic for all of us. And I want to also suggest to him that it is not for people like us alone. You have his number, he contributes to this studio. Times with that number, we should also have informed citizens, to help this uninformed population.
Contribute to the conversation.
Contribute to the conversation.
All voices.
Yeah, recently I also saw...
We've got to go now, but right, if you wanted, did you want to... I'm sorry, we've run out of time, but it's been quite an interesting conversation, and especially as you seem to have highlighted the area of responsibility for patriotism, even if we disagree, even if we disagree with government, even if there are things that we don't exactly appreciate, the point of being a national.
Not necessarily being national, because
being a national and being a patriot.
No. I will not be a patriot where the government is doing what is not right. I will not. and we only support the government where they are getting it right. And that's exactly what we have been doing, and that is what we'll continue to do.
All right,
I think in the university setup, like that person mentioned, we really didn't understand everything, but that notwithstanding, thanks to that number, we also awarded our vice chancellor, for doing the right thing.
Okay, we got to go now, but thank you very much, Philip. Philip Agbese, security analyst and public affairs commentator. Thank you very much for coming and for keeping on coming, no matter what the comments are.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Okay, then. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. And before I go, the other security concern is health. We talk about COVID-19. Do not behave as if that enemy has been defeated. Please do everything NCDC says we should be doing. And, I'll just leave it there. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.